What if the greatest copywriter of all time wasn't a polished New York ad man in a suit, but an ex-con writing letters from a federal prison cell? What if his single greatest lesson wasn't a clever headline, but a brutally simple truth about selling? And what if a single direct mail letter, one piece of paper, sent to the right person with the right offer, could generate $60,000 a day? Stay with me, because the story of Gary Halbert rewrites everything you thought you knew about advertising. There are copywriters who are good. There are copywriters who are great. And then there is Gary Halbert, a category unto himself. A man who could sit down at a typewriter, craft a single letter, and watch money pour in at a rate most businesses never see in a lifetime. He was irreverent, obsessive, sometimes maddening, and almost universally regarded by his peers as the greatest direct response copywriter who ever put words on paper. His campaigns didn't just sell products. They rewrote the rules of what was possible in print advertising. Gary Halbert was born on September 1st, 1938, in the American Midwest, a time and place that shaped his plain-spoken, no-nonsense approach to human persuasion. He had no elite advertising pedigree. He didn't come out of Madison Avenue. He didn't study at the feet of David Ogilvy or Bill Bernbach in a corner office overlooking Manhattan. Instead, he learned what worked by testing relentlessly in the real world, measuring responses in cold, hard dollars, and refusing to accept received wisdom when his own results told a different story. Halbert earned every dollar and every accolade the hard way. Halbert was a direct response man to the core. He believed, with an almost evangelical fervor, that advertising existed for one purpose and one purpose only: to make sales, not to win awards, not to build brand awareness in some vague, unaccountable way, not to make the client feel good about themselves, to sell. That singular focus, maintained across decades of work, is what separated him from the pack and elevated him into the pantheon of marketing immortals. Every campaign, every headline, every offer was judged by a single yardstick. Did it put money in the cash register? In the 1980s, Gary Halbert served time at the Boron Federal Prison Camp in California. The details of his legal troubles were, by his own admission, a product of the freewheeling, fast-moving world he operated in, one where the lines between aggressive marketing and regulatory compliance were sometimes blurry and sometimes crossed. A lesser man might have been broken by the experience. Halbert used it as a writing desk. From inside the federal prison camp, he began composing a series of letters to his son Bond, handwritten, deeply personal, achingly honest letters about life, business, and the nature of success. These letters to Bond would eventually be compiled and published as the Boron Letters, widely considered one of the most valuable documents in the history of copywriting education. In them, Halbert laid out, with no filter and no polish, exactly what it takes to make money in any business. He wrote about the importance of hunger, about starving for success before you taste it, about the difference between a person who wants to win and a person who absolutely refuses to lose. The Boron Letters aren't just marketing wisdom, they're a manual for living. The prison episode reveals something important about Halbert's character. He was inducted into both the Direct Marketing Association Hall of Fame and the Copywriting Hall of Fame, honors that speak not just to his technical skill, but to his lasting impact on an entire industry. He trained copywriters who went on to build their own legends, most notably Scott Haynes. He collaborated with and influenced giants like Jay Abraham and Ted Nicholas. He published the Gary Halbert Letter, a newsletter that became required reading for anyone serious about direct response marketing. Gary Halbert died in 2007, but he left behind a body of work so rich, so specific, and so actionable that copywriters are still mining it for insights today. His seminars reportedly changed careers overnight. His newsletters, his sales letters, his private consulting work, all of it was filtered through the same ruthless, results-obsessed lens. When you study Halbert, you don't get theory. You get the war stories, the split test results, the offer mechanics, and the unvarnished opinions of a man who made millions by turning a piece of paper into a money printing machine. Now to the centerpiece of Halbert's legend, the coat of arms letter. It is, by almost any measure, the most successful direct mail campaign in history, and it was built on an idea so elegantly simple it's almost embarrassing in retrospect. The premise is this: almost everyone is curious about their family history. In particular, people are curious about their family surname, where it came from, what it means, what heraldic symbol or coat of arms might be associated with it. Halbert recognized this latent curiosity and turned it into a money machine. The letter arrived in the mailbox addressed to the recipient by name. It opened by telling them that research had uncovered the ancient coat of arms and surname history associated with their specific family name. For a modest fee, roughly equivalent to $2 at the time, they could receive a full, personalized report on their family's heraldic history. The initial offer was deliberately low friction, designed to generate maximum response volume. It was classic Halbert, a one-page sales letter with a single, irresistible offer, no fluff, no branding nonsense, just a clear promise and a clear price. But the $2 front-end offer was just the door. The real money came on the back end, through upsells of framed wall plaques, elaborately printed family history documents, and other premium products that buyers could be sold once they'd already said yes once. This is a Halbert trademark, the idea that the first transaction is not the profit center, it's the qualifying event. Get the customer in, get them to trust you with a small amount, then ascend them into higher and higher ticket offers. It works in mail. It works on the internet. It works anywhere. The numbers behind the coat of arms letter defy belief. It was not mailed once. It was not mailed to a few 100,000 households and retired. Over the course of its remarkable lifespan, this single campaign was mailed more than 600 million times. At its absolute peak, it was generating 20,000 orders per day and producing more than $60,000 in daily revenue in 1970s dollars. The average response rate across the full campaign was approximately 7%, extraordinary for any direct mail effort, and for recipients with rarer surnames, response rates climbed as high as 23%. These are not rounding errors or marketing folklore. They are documented, verifiable numbers that represent the kind of sustained, scalable response that direct marketers dream about. The company built around this single campaign was eventually sold to Ancestry, come for $75 million. Think about that. One sales letter concept tested and refined by Gary Halbert became a business worth tens of millions of dollars. The exit to Ancestry.com didn't just validate the campaign, it cemented Halbert's status as someone who could turn a single idea, executed relentlessly, into a generational asset. What made the coat of arms letter work wasn't clever copy tricks, it was the brutal simplicity of a timeless human desire. Almost every person who ever lived wonders about their roots, their lineage, their family name. Halbert saw that universal itch and figured out how to scratch it profitably. The lesson for anyone writing copy, building a business, or trying to sell anything: find the pre-existing desire your customer already has, then build a simple, low-risk offer around satisfying it. You don't create demand from nothing. You channel demand that is already there. Halbert was obsessed with testing. He'd mail 2 versions of a sales letter, change only the headline, and measure which one brought in more money. He'd test the offer, the price, the envelope teaser, the call to action. He'd test everything, then keep the winner, then test again. While Madison Avenue was arguing about creative awards, Halbert was running thousands of split tests and letting the numbers decide. That philosophy, measure, test, refine, repeat, is now standard practice in digital marketing, but Halbert was preaching it decades before Google Ads existed. One of Halbert's most lasting contributions was the Gary Halbert Letter, a paid subscription newsletter he published for years. Inside, he shared his private findings, his current campaigns, his split test results, and his raw opinions on everything from headline writing to personal motivation. Subscribers paid real money for access, and many credit those newsletters with completely reshaping how they thought about business and marketing. The Gary Halbert Letter is now archived online and remains one of the most studied documents in the copywriting world, right alongside the Boron letters. Halbert's influence didn't end with his own work. He trained copywriters who went on to build their own legends, most notably Scott Haynes, and he collaborated with giants like Jay Abraham and Ted Nicholas. He ran live seminars where he would walk students through the construction of an actual winning sales letter, line by line, in real time. Those seminars, preserved in audio and transcript form, are still passed around today. If you've ever wondered how a true master of direct response thinks through a problem, those recordings are the closest thing you will ever get to sitting beside him at the typewriter. Here's a twist that surprises a lot of people. Halbert was not a polished writer. He was not the kind of ad man who agonized over every semicolon. He wrote the way people actually talk: punchy, direct, sometimes profane, always persuasive. His letters sounded like a smart friend telling you about an opportunity they couldn't resist, not like a corporate brochure begging for your attention. That conversational, almost street-level voice is exactly why his copy converted at rates that left Madison Avenue copywriters scratching their heads. He was speaking to real humans, not to a focus group.